As I sat there in that title office signing those documents, I looked poised and confident, but inside, I was terrified. I was overcome with the realization that buying a house meant I'd be tied to my day job until I was 52 years old. I felt like my wings had been clipped just as I was ready to spread them. My day job represented my greatest obstacle between myself and the life of my dreams. Yet here I was, committing to it for the next 30 years at an interest rate of 4.1%. Over the next few months, I became increasingly resentful of my job. I felt like the gray walls of my cubicle were closing in on me. I developed a condition I call career claustrophobia. Symptoms include staring at the clock every 2 minutes and dreaming of an escape. A bit like prison, I would imagine. And I wasn't alone. According to a recent Deloitte Shift Index survey, 87% of Americans lack passion for their jobs. And what's more disturbing is that we're spending a whopping 90,000 hours of our lives at work. This lack of enthusiasm has led to burnout, broken marriages, and countless hours in therapists' office wondering why we aren't happy. I did the logical thing at the time, and I began to scale back my life. I downgraded my car. I packed my lunch for work every day, and I would bid my friends farewell as they, not me, they would set off to travel the world. All work and no play wasn't working out for me. I figured I had two options at this point. Either I continued to pinch every penny and lived a life of scarcity, or I found a way to make more money. I chose the latter. With a big chunk of my paycheck going to the mortgage every month, I didn't have a lot of money to invest, but what I did have was the motivation to pay off my mom's house before I turned 30, evenings and weekends, and Google. Around that time, I read an article online about a speed dating company in New York City. It sounded interesting and like something we could use in Tampa, Florida, where I lived at the time. I registered the domain tampaspeeddate.com for $10, had my brother develop the website, and found myself officially running a side hustle. A side hustle may have sounded like something scandalous a few decades ago, but today it's defined as a means to earn income alongside one's main form of employment. What it isn't is a second job where you're working for someone else. Side hustles are typically born out of purpose and passion, something most of us look for in our day jobs but never find. I ran Tampa Speed Date for roughly a year before business started to slow down, and although it remained profitable, it just wasn't bringing in the money I needed to meet my goal of paying off my mom's house before I turned 30. So I shut it down and decided to try something else. I began to mine my abilities for something I could apply to another low-risk, service-based business. By this point, I had worked for 3 different employers and considered myself somewhat of a pro when it came to interviewing and resume writing. So I decided to put these skills to use by training other adults to do the same. I'd spend my weekdays working my day job, my weeknights writing the curriculum, and my weekends training adult students. I had originally started this business as a means to earn more money, but I got something else along the way, a sense of personal accomplishment. Watching these people learn and implement what I was teaching them and then witnessing their careers flourish as a result gave me a sense of satisfaction that my day job never could. Maslow's hierarchy describes personal accomplishment as a basic human need, and this hustle gave me that. At the same time, it brought in the money I needed to pay off my mom's house by the time I was 28 years old, 2 years ahead of my goal. Since that time, I've run a series of side hustles, everything from real estate investing to media production to motivational speaking, and each one has enriched my life in its own unique way. Today, I'm going to share with all of you my 3 top reasons why everyone needs a side hustle. The first, and arguably the most important reason you need to start a side hustle, is that it can make you happier. According to the American Psychological Association, 65% of U.S. employees cited work as a significant source of stress. And a universal complaint amongst these employees was a sense of powerlessness on the job. We're being handed too much responsibility with too little authority, and it's taking a toll on our physical and our mental well-being. Side hustles give us an opportunity to regain some of that loss of control. You get to decide what you want to do and how you want to do it. This degree of autonomy rarely exists in the workplace, but has a positive effect on our level of happiness. To further demonstrate this point, in his book, The Upward Spiral, Dr. Alex Korb describes how decision-making affects our brains. Actively choosing causes changes in attention circuits, which increases dopamine activity. Dopamine is one of the main neurotransmitters in our brains responsible for our perception of pleasure. In other words, being able to call the shots is directly correlated with a boost in pleasure. This is why side hustlers are willing to work longer hours, oftentimes for less pay outside of their day jobs. And it should come as no surprise that a side effect of being happier is that you're more likely to be successful on the job. A study conducted by economists at the University of Warwick discovered that happier employees were 12% more productive. And employers aren't blind to this. Discussions about work-life balance are no longer off the table in interviews, with time off and flexible schedule being negotiated right alongside salaries. In my personal experience, I've steadily moved into leadership positions, and I credit my side hustles with keeping me energized and motivated. Now, it might sound counterintuitive to take on more work with a side hustle to relieve the stress of work, but the relationship between the two is mutualistic. One feeds the other, creating greater odds for overall happiness. Who doesn't want to be happier? But there are times when your side hustle is more than just a happy venture. The second reason you need to start a side hustle is that it diversifies your skills that can potentially save you in a time of need. Some of you may be thinking, well, I can pick up skills with a hobby, or some of you might be thinking that you're happy with your career and your salary and you really don't need to do more. And for all of you, I have a story about my friend, Tom. Tom was a good employee. He worked for one of the country's largest hospitality companies for 33 years. Every day, Tom invested his time, his energy, and his ideas on the job, hoping that the company would value his commitment. But the company had other plans for Tom. After 33 years of service, they let him go. And at the ripe age of 50, Tom found himself unemployed. Getting laid off is a hard enough pill to swallow. Getting laid off at 50 is like taking a career bullet to the chest, and then having that chest pounded on with a roll of resumes from younger job candidates. For the next several years, Tom would apply to thousands of jobs with zero success. As much as we like to believe that hiring practices are fair, things like ageism, racism, sexism, all kinds of isms are very much alive in the workplace. We can either surrender our livelihoods to our employers, or we can take the reins and maintain some level of control. So what happened to Tom? Well, a few years prior to getting shafted by his employer, Tom developed an interest in public speaking as a means to increase his self-confidence. He joined a local Toastmasters club and went on to become an award-winning speaker in his area. He then went on to train over a dozen other speakers, making a name for himself as a speaking coach. When Tom found himself unemployed, he became self-employed. For the last few years, he's become Nomad Tommy B, traveling the country, remotely coaching students over the phone on how to become better speakers. His side hustle evolved into his bread and butter and affords him a life of freedom. If you ask him today, he'll say his only regret is that he didn't start his side hustle sooner. In a world that's obsessed with 30 under 30 lists, the beauty of a side hustle is that you can start it at any age and at any stage in life. And, like Tom, the skills that you acquire through your pursuits can give you the means to survive in the face of an employment crisis. This brings me to my third reason you need to start a side hustle. You're actually more likely to be successful with an idea if you start it on the side. Let me ask you guys a question. Has anyone here ever played poker? All right. Imagine yourself playing a hand with $5 in the pot. With $5 in the pot, you can play with your strategy, have a little fun. Even if you lose, you can probably stick around and play a few more hands. Now imagine yourself playing a hand with $50,000 in the pot. The higher the stakes, the higher the reward. But now it's a little harder to keep your poker face, isn't it? Similarly, when you go all in on a business, without having a day job to back you up, your energy comes across differently. The stress of keeping up with your bills could affect your decision-making abilities and how you interact with your clients. We hold this stereotype of entrepreneurs as rebels who throw caution to the wind and go all in on their dreams. But this model is not feasible for most of us. We've been brainwashed to believe that this is the only way to achieve success. But there's data that suggests something completely different. Over the course of 15 years, researchers with the Academy of Management studied over 5,000 aspiring entrepreneurs consisting of two varieties. Those who started a business without having a full-time job, and the second being hybrid entrepreneurs, those who started a business while maintaining a full-time job. The results showed that hybrid entrepreneurs were 33% more successful with their business ventures. 33%. That's a significant difference. Side hustles offer entrepreneurs a try before you buy opportunity where you can test your idea in a low-risk manner before deciding to go all in. And that's exactly what a fax machine saleswoman did in the 1990s when she started an intimate apparel line out of her apartment. She toiled with her side hustle for years before experiencing success and leaving her day job. But once she made that leap, there was no turning back. Her name is Sarah Blakely, and she's currently worth over $1 billion thanks to a business she started on the side, a women's intimate apparel line called Spanx. Starting a side hustle is like tiptoeing into the realm of possibility where anything is achievable. Employers have started to embrace the concept of work-life balance, but that doesn't mean they're creating the life part for us. It's up to each of us as individuals to create our own opportunities for greater happiness, broadened skills, and the chance at life-altering success. Ultimately, we're all looking for a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment in our lives. And while our careers utilize only a fraction of our capabilities, side hustles enable us to flex our potential, making anything possible. I no longer see my day job as my greatest obstacle between myself and the life of my dreams. In fact, I see it as a great facilitator. It enables me to take on side hustles and continuously revise my strategy until I get it right. My day job earns me a living, but my side hustles create a life that I look forward to waking up to every day. I leave you with these 5 nuggets of wisdom as you consider starting your next business venture. Number 1, start with something you love. If you love what you do, you're likely to make more time for it. Number 2, learn everything you can about the business before you begin. A little bit of patience in the learning process can go a long way. Number 3, talk about your side hustle as though success is inevitable. Your passion will be infectious, turning skeptics into supporters. Number 4, place a fair value on the service or product that you're offering. If you believe it's worth something, others will too. And number 5, finally, if anybody comes to me with an idea, be it my friends or my future children, I'll tell them this: go for it, but don't quit your day job.